All right, truth tellers, let's get into it. Let's bring in my favorite people. Judge Lauren Lake is back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Dimitri Wiley is in the house, unfortunately. Unfortunately,
it's
so
crazy.
glad you're here. We love you.
Crazy. Unfortunately, it's crazy, but it's a pleasure to be here.
And the queen of truth talk, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. Welcome, my sister.
Thanks for having me. Actually, thanks for being a guest in my house, Torrey. Anyways, what's up, truth tellers? It's your favorite doc, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. I am here to cover some topics today. Y'all listen, y'all been going off in the chat. Been loving it. Been seeing that go, Doc. Been seeing y'all say, Doc, what you're talking about. Either way, I don't care. But I do want your engagement. So get ready for us to set this thing on fire today, truth tellers. We want to hear y'all in the chat. Talk to us.
I saw Arifa on Instagram stick it up for me, agreeing. I was appreciating that. Parents got to stick together, Arifa.
Yeah, I don't know what your gentle ass is talking about. Gentle parenting breeds gentle kids and obviously gentle parents as well. What is our topic today? What is our topic today?
We're gonna actually talk about two of the best raised children in the country. Trending truths: Malia Obama has changed her name so she can have more, she says, autonomy. Unlike Trump's kids who revel in nepotism and want his power to shine on them, the Obama girls are taking the high road, working in art, and Malia is saying she wants to just be known as Malia. Do you think she's missing out on some legacy benefits? Should she be maximizing the opportunities that the Obama name would give her the way the Trump kids are, but like with dignity? Dimitri, what do you think about Malia's choice here?
I can say I want to respect it. I really do. But to keep it honest with you, if I had a name like Obama, that's my last name, I would use it on every resume, every studio session, every scholarship, every job interview, everything. I'm using it to walk through every single door that's been locked for people that look just like me. Every last one of them. Like, you know how many times I had to be twice as good with like half the chance of actually getting what I was reaching for. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, you best believe I'm using it. And the thing about it is, it's not to cheat. It's not the idea that I'm using it to cheat, but it's simply to even the playing field. Like, we talk in the Black community all the time about building legacy and breaking generational curses and XYZ. And now that's just something she want to give away. Her parents did that for her. And now it's just something you're gonna give it away. Like, you finally get a seat at the table, but you like, hey, since this makes everybody else uncomfortable, I'm gonna go eat in the other room. I really don't get it. It could never be me. I'm gonna be honest with you, because the moment they put it in my face, I'm walking through the door and I'm bringing everybody with me. That's me personally.
Well, Lauren, I understand what the young brother's saying. It's hard enough for us to get into any game that we should use whatever advantages we have. And if our parents have gone out into the world and done things that make our name ring out positively, then we have a right to use that. And people do that in every culture. The thing for me with this story is Malia cannot erase Obama from her name. She may have literally done that, but everybody knows who she is. Every time she shows up in every room, everybody knows Barack and Michelle are her parents. So even if the name Obama isn't on her page, her letter, her phone call, her email, because she doesn't ever need a resume ever. She just calls and says, "This is Malia. I would like a meeting," and it's going to happen. So, I mean, what she's trying to do, you can't really do, Lauren.
Right. And so as I thought about this subject, I actually said to myself, I can't wait to hear what my good sis, Dr. Bryant, says, because there has to be something else going on here. Maybe emotionally, maybe her feeling about what comes with the name that maybe I don't feel like dealing with all the time, right? Mm-hmm. To Dimitri's point, I think there is a legacy behind it that could work in her favor. And I mean, I agree with you in many respects. You know, I grew up in Detroit. As I've said, both of my parents were college educators. I ended up working in the legal field as an attorney and then also in entertainment. They didn't do either of that. So I'm literally putting this together stick by stick on my own for the last 40 years. I would love it if I had a parent that could help walk me into certain rooms. However, there is probably a level of baggage that we don't understand because we didn't have it, right? That they may carry, and I'd also like to say that it may be that she is excluded from rooms and she's excluded from places because of people who don't care for her parents. That's also a possibility. So I would say, and I would lean into, it's a personal choice that we have to respect, but to Ray's point as well, she looked just like both of them. I mean, you know what I mean? She's a perfect little smoothie, and it will be hard to get away from it. But look, it may not be forever. It may just be for a time in her, what is she, in her 20s now, early 30? What are they now? Yeah. It may just be for a time for her to feel like she can express herself. Or, last point, be a part of projects that maybe her name being associated with, maybe she doesn't want. What if she wanted to create content that was extremely provocative, or if it was sexual, explored sexual topics, and maybe she doesn't want to include her father's name in that, just to have him be separate. I am just making up things.
Sure.
But those thoughts that have come to my head as I thought about why a young woman would want to, in many cases, divorce herself from a name. And it's just the name. It's not her family. It's just the name.
Doc, what do you think?
I mean, I think that what she's seeking is a sense of normalcy. And I think that's okay. She grew up and they were raised in the White House as the first Black family to be in administration as a president. And listen, I am nowhere near in the celebrity status as the Obamas. Okay, I'm just little old Dr. B who has entered into this celebrity space. And I know for sure that my brother and my mother and even my best friends, they are at the point, and it's only been, a short amount of time, where when we go out places and people want pictures, or we're at a concert and people are at the restroom and standing in front, and they're absolutely nice. And they're telling me they love my work and they're so kind and they're fans of mine, that they are already going, we need a sense of normalcy, Doc, or we need security. We've been in line to purchase drinks or food, and fans came over and said, I love your work. Let me buy you guys a drink. It is a beautiful gesture. But everyone I'm connected to is directly impacted and affected by my work, my brand, my celebrityness now, and me doing what I do. So tying it to Malia, I just feel like if baby girl wants to have her own identity, that is perfectly fine. If she wants to feel a sense of normalcy, so like Judge Lauren said, when she goes places that Obama doesn't either inflame or deflame things for her, I think she has a right. And I respect her decision to say, listen, love what you've done for me. Doesn't mean I still won't name drop when need be in the room to say, you know who my daddy is, you know who my mother is. But as a young Black woman, she has every right to say, I want to make my own path. I want to make my own way. And I don't want to have to say that everything I'm building is only built because of the name Obama. I think there's something special about saying, as a young woman and Black woman, that I'm building this thing brick by brick. And I know that I have support. And I know that I have a family I can stand on. Sure. But it's okay to do that. And I think the normalcy piece is what they're really seeking. And I'll land on this, because those girls went through a lot when he was in office. They're still going through a lot. And it's not just the positive stuff, rhetoric that they're getting. They got a lot of backlash by being the first Black president of the United States of America's kids. These are not normal kids with the normal last name at all. I think she deserves the right to have that normalcy.
No, I get it. You can't not be yourself. You can't not be Malia Obama. We all know who you are. She's a filmmaker. She walks in the room. They all know who she is. People want to work with her, partly because she seems very smart and very poised and very capable and very talented. And we should want to help a young person who seems all those things. But also, nobody will ever forget. I mean, these two people, her and her sister, were really part of the Obama legacy, and they were on stage with them, and we watched them grow up. And there's so many people, especially in the world of independent film or Hollywood, who love the Obamas. And the name is going to give her a shot in any project she wants to be a part of, whether or not it's actually on the page or not. But I appreciate the desire to want to have some sense of individuality, right? Yeah. I think that's just like, let me be me. But your father and your mother will always be, at least invisibly, lifting you up.
Of course. And that's okay. You got folks whose parents aren't the Obamas who, Judge Lauren Lake's father, rest in peace, my father, rest in peace. We're standing on their shoulders. They're always lifting us. I know if I told my father I want to divorce this last name, he'd be turning, flipping, and rise from that grave because he's big on the Bryant last name. And so I personally couldn't do it. My dad would be disappointed, but kudos to Malia and the Obama family for allowing their daughter to have her own discovery stage and go into her own self-discovery mode.
You make a good point because, when I went to college, I started going by one name and my parents never flipped. My father never flipped. He was like, I completely understand. Fuck that slave name that we don't know where it's from. And we gave you an African name that is so unique that you can roll with that. And the whole thing was like, this is what you chose to give me, this other thing we don't know where it's from. I found out later in life, the person that I was told is my grandfather was not my grandfather. It's this other person who you never got to meet is actually your grandfather. So the literal line is broken. But my father, and I understand what you're saying about your father, but my father reacted to a totally different decision in a totally different way. And he totally embraced and loved. And he felt affirmed by it because he had been part of the decision to give me this unique name that stands out even without a last name.
Wow. I love that, Ray, because the truth is paternity matters beyond the name, right? It is just a name. Think about it for women as well. I don't have my father's last name, although, I am a living, breathing extension of his legacy. And I live that out every single day. I've created an entire show about that, but I don't carry his last name. I actually got married. I took that last name and then I kept it because I was working. I think maybe for women as well, there is a thought that we ultimately may or may not take our future partners or husband's last name anyway. We can always add our father's last name in as a middle name. We got options. So I think, right. And so that's why I said, kind of give a young woman a space to do what she feels like she needs to do because she feels like she wants to do it without, thinking that it is some type of, her being critical of her family or wanting to divorce herself from her family.
I love y'all. I agree with y'all. I'm just over there with it. I'm on the other side of it. I think if she grew up on the opposite end, the opposite spectrum, and she saw what it's like to not have a name that actually rung a bell and that could walk you into a room, she'd completely be looking at this differently. I think it's the way she grew up, how fast she had to grow up with that name, because she was introduced to stardom as a kid or popularity as a kid. If it was any other way, she'd be looking at this completely differently. Because she doesn't see privilege. She may view it as a burden. And I understand. Give me a little privilege. Sprinkle it on me. Give me some nepotism. I would be LeBron James Jr., Jordan Obama. Give me all of it. Every last name you got. Give me all of it.
I respect it, and I might be more like Dimitri with it, really, if you gave me, God forbid, you gave me that sort of privilege. Let me move on to our second story. Where Black and brown lives collide or don't. In response to the ICE raids, activists have launched a Freedom Ride caravan in defense of immigrant rights. But some Black influencers are saying, is this entire ICE immigration even our fight? Let's look at this video.
We are the entire civil rights movement, okay? Every ounce of liberty any minority group got in this country, it was as a direct result of us being hosed, beat, and having dogs sicked on us year in and year out for decades, okay? Simply put, without getting in the nuance of the why, it's somebody else's turn. And who that somebody else is, that ain't none of my damn business. That's between all the other groups who ain't had a chance to be the line leader yet. I don't give a damn whether it's the Hispanics, the Asians, the Polynesians, the Planet of the Apes, or the terracotta flower pots. I don't give a damn. Y'all fuss amongst yourselves and figure out which one of y'all want to carry the baton, because from where I sit, and no fault of their own, all y'all hoes have ever done up until now is showed up to the party and you didn't bring nothing. I understand that a lot of the people who are getting deported and whose families are being torn apart, they were unable to vote. That those are not the people who voted, and they are receiving the back end effects of what the people who could vote. And while I may not understand everything about the Latin American diaspora, I know enough to know that, bitch, y'all got one thing in common, and it's the fact that you're Latin. All right. And your Latin brothers and sisters, the ones that came into the state the right way, the ones that they wanted to come in and their parents were immigrants, but they want to shut the door for the rest of y'all, the ones that married white and bred some of that Latino out of them, or the ones who are looking to marry white, or the ones who are like, you know what, I'm a minority, but not like this, just like this. You need to be calling them. Y'all people did this. Latino voters were the swing vote. Latino voters was the swing vote.
Doc, he makes an excellent point, and there's a lot of Black people since the election and through the months since then who have felt the same way about, like, we have fought for this country so many times and we're tired and we don't want to do it anymore, and somebody else do it. A lot of people keep saying this. What do you think about this in regards to the ICE, just this ICE specific situation where, you know, we have Black people saying maybe we shouldn't because it's not our fight? What do you think about that?
Well, as a Black and a Latina, let me be specific, Mexican, Hispanic woman, they said, you know, y'all are next, in reference to Black people being next. And I yelled back at the Juneteenth event over the weekend, we were first. And everybody Black got to applauding and said, yeah. Why do I say that? Because we're never next. We're always first and always fighting for something that we need to shift and change because of our disparities, our marginalization, because of the modern day slavery that's still going on. Do I believe that we should be out fighting at the level that we do when it's our fight? No, because I don't think that this is our fight. Let me go deeper. This is going to hit a lot of people, and I'm okay with that. The racism between Black and Latinas or Latins is much more deeper, just not louder than it is between Blacks and whites. That is a conversation for some reason we don't have often enough, and we're not having loud enough. There's a lot of Hispanics that don't and have never cared for the Black community at a deep-rooted level. And there's a lot of white people who ally with us a lot more deeper and further than the Latin community. And when I say Latin community, I'm not talking about the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, because there are a group of Hispanics, when I say Hispanics, Mexicans, who would deem them as niggas alongside Black people being niggas. And so when we're talking about Mexicans and Blacks, that has been a deep-rooted race war that is not talked about. I talk about this with NAACP. It's always this Black and white stuff and supremacy we talk about, but there is a big racial disparity in a lot of racism that goes on between Mexicans on Blacks. And so is it our fight from a humanity perspective? Yes. But is it our fight always to be on the forefront, fighting for things that we don't benefit from? No. And so I say, is ICE in a position of not showing humanity towards a race of people? Yes. Are they wrong for that? Yes. Should they be treated like animals? Hell no. But I have to say that, no, this is not a Black fight. This is exactly that. This is a Hispanic fight. And we can stand in allyship, but I don't think we need to be at the front of the ship. Just how I feel about it. Again, and my family is half Mexican, and that's just how I feel about it.
No, I respect the position, and you have every right to that position. And a lot of Black people agree with you. I think that it is our fight because I think that justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, right? And that is something that Dr. King has talked about. And my allyship in these sort of situations is not transactional. It's not, I'm not supporting Latinos or immigrants because they supported us. I'm supporting what I think is right. no matter what direction that they go. I'm going to fight for the justice that I believe should exist. I want to roll a clip of an African business owner who said that his Latin employees were plotting against his Black employees. Let's look at that.
Who are working in my company. I'm a Black man. I own a company. I hire a Latino. The Latino comes back and complain about the African Americans because the Latino thinks because I'm African, I don't have any relationship with the African American. The Latino comes to me and tell me that you are an immigrant. I'm an immigrant. That African American cannot work. I have Jose, I have Gonzalez, my brothers who know how to work very well. You need to fire the African Americans and I will bring a lot of hardworking Latinos who work for your company. This is my company as a Black man. My company. I was a contractor at Quantico Marine Base in Virginia. A contractor for General Electrics. And the Latino workers that are hired, they are snitching on the African-American workers that are hired for me to fire the African-Americans so they can bring Latinos to take their place.
Dimitri, do you feel like when you watch a video like that, when you hear the stories that like Dr. Brian is talking about, that do you feel like the Latino community, the Hispanic community are truly our allies?
Not exactly. No, I don't. It's just me being very transparent. First off, before I get into that, can I say how proud of that business owner I am? Because for once, I seen Black support Black, and if you know the actual heritages and things around that nature, to be African American and support African Americans and seeing us all as one. First off, applause, because he didn't have to take that stand. But Torrey, you said something earlier. You said an injustice for the Martin Luther King quote: "Injustice everywhere is a threat to justice. The injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Now, I do believe you. I feel you. I get it. It resonates through my bones. But I don't quite feel like anybody should use that quote against me when you want my Black body to be on the front line. Like the question becomes, where was all this in 2020? Where was the Latino Black Alliance in 2020? Because if I remember correctly, there was a lot of them who actually sided with the cops and with the Karens and all of these things. But now it's Black and brown power unity. But when we needed that back then, I ain't hear from too many people. It was crickets back then. You know what I'm saying? And all I'm saying is, if you want us to fight with you, you got to fight with us. Black pain is an ongoing thing. So I just can't put my fight down and come fight for yours.
It's interesting because I think there's some deep cultural differences that we're referencing, Lauren. I think for one thing, in Los Angeles and in Southern California, the Black and brown communities have historically been more at odds. And in New York City, the Black and brown communities have felt politically aligned and have fought together more often. So when I think about back to 2020, I feel like a lot of brown people were out there with us. But if you were in California, you had a different experience, then maybe that was different. But Lauren, there's a lot of reasons I think that are valid about why Doc and Dimitri and others maybe feel the way that they do. And I think some of it is like, I want to hear your thoughts, but some of it is like the way that we feel as people of color. Some Latino people don't look at race in the same way, that they're putting other things like religion or wanting to be American or whatever, like the way that we wear race on our sleeve and it's a defining political factor for many of us. For a lot of them, they don't look at the world in that same way.
I think you are correct. I think African Americans have a different relationship to this country than most other races and cultures. I mean, it's just different. It is what it is. You can't change it. And we know things about the way this country works because we have had to live, die, endure, survive through this for centuries. And I've said this earlier in the week as we've talked, we have to play chess and not checkers. We have to think before we all go running out in the streets, because what we know as African Americans is this changes the dynamic of this whole fight if we go running out into the street. And and nobody can tell me any different. So I say to myself, yes, the essence of what's happening here is a part of our fight. Racism, denial of due process, civil liberties, all of those things are a similar and often in a joined fight that we move through as people of color, which people don't even like that term anymore, Black people and brown people in this country. However, although the essence of the fight is the same in some respects, the execution of it has to be different because we move in this country differently. If we got out right now, if tomorrow we left our homes and ran out into these streets, similar to how we did during the Black Lives Matter movement and all of those things, this would immediately take on in a completely different political landscape, this entire fight. And I will even I'll step a little further, and people may disagree, but I believe it. If we get out into the streets and march and allow them to create the civil unrest, which allows them to then say, we're out of hand as protesters. We got to lock us up. We gotta get the pellet guns out constantly and do all of the things to us. It changes the issue. I think right now there are other ways that Black people who are believing that they are a part of this fight and this fight is there can help and aid in this fight. And I don't think it's necessarily to do what other people think we should do. It's for us to understand that we have a different understanding of the way this country works. And it's also to remind people that we did align ourselves with all people of color in those voting booths. We did. And we told everybody, this is how we don't get here, is we vote like this. But many people didn't want that form of allyship. So you don't want to align with me when we can do it safely from the voting box and all return home to our families. And yet now we yell and scream and we've got to align so that we all go on the street when we know it's our sons, our fathers, and our brothers that's going to prison and that's dying. That's the history of America that is real. It hasn't changed.
Doc, it does feel like a politically self-inflicted wound in that so many of our Latino brothers and sisters, Latina sisters, voted Republican, and now this community has a massive political problem.
Listen, again, as a Black and Latino woman who fights as president of NAACP for Black and brown rights, and I stand on a mountaintop and I do what I'm allowed to use my platform to do it. I truly believe that the Hispanics voted heavily for Trump because they dislike Black folks, especially Black women, so much that they rather vote for a racist white man or even possibly a dog than vote for a Black person. And if that ends up being something that people get upset with, I'm okay with that because I'm here not to be liked, but to speak the truth. I have been in a family split with Mexican Hispanics and Blacks. Black people have never had a problem with Mexicans, have never had a problem with the Hispanic Latin community. Our problem has been with the white folks. We know that. We talk about it all the time. We've never had a problem with them. Mexicans have always, and again, I'm Hispanic. I love my brown people. I'm on the West Coast. I'm in LA. They've always had an issue with us. We are always fighting for policies and legislations, including DEI, that work and serve everybody else. And then we are the last people in line that they shut the door on and say, Torre, there was 2,000 spots for this. And all of the other colored people got them. And now that you're 2001, I'm sorry, brother, that you fought so hard for this and you were on the front line, but you and your family don't get this aid today. Figure it out. That's where I have a heartbreak and a problem at, because we fight and ally with everybody and we get policy passed because we are them people who march and protest. We're inside as NAACP. We're outside as other organizations. And we do align and we do connect with each other and we get shit done. Just for us to get to the front door and for them to say, sorry, y'all, all the other color folks have taken up what y'all have fought for. I'm gonna wrap on this. This is why I fight so much, not for DEI, but Black inclusion and Black inclusivity. This is why I fight so hard for, I don't want to hear about a minority bill. I want to hear that this is a bill for Black people. I don't want to hear about a hate crime bill that's been passed just for an Asian community, just for an LGBTQ plus community. Yes, those are hate crimes too. I want to hear that there's a hate bill that's passed for Black people, that when you say things to us like the N-word or other things, that it affects us psychologically, that there is trauma that we have to deal with. I want Black and not African-American, because I'm a fucking American. I want Black on the front of policy, on the front of bills, on the front of legislation. I want it to be loud like that, loud. So yeah, I'm passionate about it because I am both. And I see it happen all too much, that the Mexicans would rather vote for a white racist man, and sometimes even probably a dog, than vote for a Black or woman who they knew would have helped both Black and brown people, both.
I think that the one thing that sticks out to me is that if they succeed with them, we are next. So if we don't fight them, Trump, on this stage, then the next stage will be us.
When are we off the stage? Right? We were first, second, third. When are we off the stage? Okay.
Well, no, I mean, I appreciate the point, and I think that's correct, but I feel it as a habit of fighting for justice, and that we are constantly going to be out in the streets, in the politics, whatever, fighting for justice. And as a Black person, I expect that as a habit. And I understand the notion that you're bringing up that so many people feel, but we are tired. Let somebody else do it. I'm just used to us doing it, so I feel like we are leaders in this country. Speaking of leaders in this country, in our politicking segment, Auntie Maxine, my favorite congressperson, Representative Maxine Waters of California, showed a lot of strength when she made her presence known at the LA ICE raids, at the LA ICE raid protests and detention center. Let's take a look at her visit.
No, I want you to, hello. Congresswoman Waters, I just came to use my congressional authority to check on baby.
Ma'am, we're logging securely now to all visitors.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public apparel.
I need to get in.
Judge Lauren, let's talk about this. Is it performative, or is this like actually like her duty? And like on their side, what right do they have to close the door to a congresswoman doing her congressional duty? And we've seen them do this. This happened to in New Jersey, to a couple Black elected officials. It's happened in other places. So how are they even able to tell her, no, you can't come in here?
Well, they shouldn't be. However, I mean, first of all, as a congressperson, they have the legal right and the responsibility to oversee federal agencies, right? So she walked up there basically to say, listen, people are being detained. It is my, not just a right, it's my responsibility. I need to see how this is running inside. Now, they closed the door on her face, which legally they're really not supposed to be able to, but there is always an exception. And one of the exceptions is always in the interest of safety. I think in this instance, they cited that there were like 1,000 protesters or something outside, and there was a climate that wasn't conducive. And if she gave them a little notice, legally, she really doesn't have to give them notice. But under this exception of if there's, public safety issues, they can ask that she make an appointment. What we really see happening, and, I was thinking to myself, as we've been talking this week, like, Lauren, you got to stop saying they out here just doing anything they want to do. And this is me talking to myself. Yeah. But the truth is they really are. It's like, I want to align this somehow legally and put this in a nice little Tiffany box for everybody and tie that white bow neat. But you can't. These fools out here doing anything they want to do.
I mean, Lauren, as a person who's dedicated her life to the law, to see the administration repeatedly ignoring the courts has got to be dismaying to you.
No, it's when I tell you all the conversations that I have with my girlfriends, the legal community, even male, lawyers that I know, we're all just kind of like, ain't this something? Ain't this something? I mean, this law school we've been going to and law school loans, the majority of us still paying off and everything else. And you watch this system walk in and basically crush everything we learned to be the process. And it's real. It's happening in front of our faces. What's the kids say? They play in your face. That's what we feel like, right? And we're sitting here now trying to figure out, as you asked so beautifully the other day, Trey, well, when is it going to be enough? Like, and how do we get to that point? And again, to my point that I keep saying, what's the chess game here? Because if we just roll out into them streets, we're going to give them a reason to start shooting and dragging us in. Now we're preoccupied trying to get our nephew, our cousin, our brother, and everybody out of jail, and we ain't in on the fight. So I'm going to tell you this with all sincerity. We're in some uncharted waters right now, where people are really in, and I'm big on this because, look, I make a living talking. And yet I do feel like sometimes it's just too many people running their mouth, right? When we need to be in some quiet rooms, we need some think tanks. We need to get somewhere quiet in the basements of some churches and figure some things out. And everything don't have to be, publicized. Our ancestors worked in silence. It was called the Underground Railroad for a reason. We knew the power of a covert operation versus an overt operation. And I think to get ourselves out of that, we're going to have to do a little of that.
Dimitri, the sister makes a fantastic point that there are other people who perhaps could join the fight. And I understand the value of Auntie Maxine in this moment. She is one of the most famous Congress people there is. So when she shows up, she brings cameras with her. News media says, let's run that footage. Footage of Maxine getting the door shut in her face is very dramatic. CNN, everybody's going to run that. A younger congressperson may not be able to bring the cameras and galvanize the community. It may not hurt people as much. We've seen Maxine fighting for us for years and decades. So when she gets rejected this way, it viscerally hurts. Somebody who we have a younger relationship with isn't the same. But at the same point, we would like to see the younger generation step up and the newer elected officials step up. And we've seen Jasmine Crockett, who we love, and Cory Booker and AOC and Hakeem Jeffries, my congressman. But we need more. Where's the rest of your generation?
First off, I'm finna go look for him. I'm gonna talk to him for you. I promise I'm finna go look for him. But there's a couple things I want to address in this as we look at this video. First off, y'all doing my TT Waters like this is insane. I'm talking about absurd. Like, this woman ain't been out here holding it down since as long as we've been alive. I'm talking about you too, Torre. You know what I'm saying? She got time in the game. She done fought Reagan. She done fought Bush. She fighting Trump. She fought everybody. And now they acting like she ain't got the clearance. This is literally an elected representative of the people. Like, what are we talking about? Like, make it make sense. And half of these people in office with zero backbone, zero resume, get more access, more respect, more TV time, but they treating her, slamming the door in her face like she's a trespasser. Ain't nobody show no ID. Ain't nobody show no badges. Ain't nobody say this. They didn't explain the situation before they slammed the door in her face. I don't understand it. But my question is, the biggest question is, where is the rest of Congress with this? Why ain't they speaking up? What are young people at, like you said? What are progressives? Like, where are all these people who's supposed to be fighting for my TT? The fact that she was just disrespected. You know what I'm saying? If Maxine Waters don't get access, who in the system should have access? Like, I don't understand it, but you're right. You're right. It's time for some younger people to step in, but they should be more mad that someone of this stature is getting declined rather than, you know what I'm saying, rather than anything else. They should be mad at that first, and then we get mad at everything else.
Is this performative or is this effective?
Definitely performative. Definitely performative. I think we do need young leadership. Why? Because we need some folks that actually get pissed off. I think the career politicians, I think that they are tired. I think that they are trying to show this very graceful, astute way of leadership. And it looks good. It's performative. It's transactional. Looks good on camera. We need some young folks to get in there and get pissed off. I'm not saying get violent. I'm saying be passionate, be pissed off, have a different oomph for what's going on. They arrested our state senator, Alex Padilla. You arrest a senator by saying they didn't know that he was a senator. But that's a lie, because the person that escorted him in there introduced him as Senator Alex Padilla. I was with our Mayor Karen Bass yesterday, having conversation on strategy and how do we start to strategize with Los Angeles and so forth, and her lifting the curfew or not lifting and what that looks like. And she said it. She said, they're trying to create civil arrests. That's exactly what they're attempting to create. You're arresting a senator. You have threatened to arrest the mayor and the governor of this state. And she said very clearly, she said, I believe that he is attempting to see how much they can get away with in the second biggest state and city in the U.S., because the biggest Democratic state, California, if they can get away with it here, guess what? They can get away with it anywhere.
Why do they want to create unrest?
You know why? I brought it up to the mayor. I said, you think that they're pushing for martial law? And of course, as a mayor, I want to make sure I protect her as well. She didn't want to use that word because she doesn't want to put out a fear factor into her citizens. And I understand as leadership, but I can use it. And she said, I think they're trying to create a civil arrest by showing that we're out of control, by showing that the elected officials down there can't even handle their city. She went and put a curfew, and a curfew means what? We're out of control. And so again, the attempt to create a very hostile martial law environment so he can call this martial law and be into this dictatorship is what he's attempting to do. And let me tell you why, because you have the folks on the street saying LAPD should back off. They should not be out here. They should back off, right? But if they back off, who do you think takes over? The Federal Bureau. Who do you think takes over? The feds. Right. The mayor was talking. Come on, sis. The mayor was talking about this. She was telling us, if you want the LAPD, the city to back off,
who feds? Who feds? Who? The 300 National Guard? Who? The 700 Marines? Who
are already here? Who are already here? This is the point. Who are already here? Whoever they decide to send. This is the point, though. But if we tell all of our law enforcement officers here to back all the way down and don't have no involvement with policing our community, then our community is stuck with just the damn military, with just the damn National Guards. That becomes martial law. That is now the military taking over the city on our own soil. That is exactly what they want, which is what we cannot play into. Go ahead, sis.
I just have to say this because when you said performative, it came to me that sometimes the performative thing is necessary, right? So while people might think she's being performative, she's old school. I'm going to go in there, and if they let me in there, I'm going in. If they slam the door in my face, they may feel like Dimitri. But whatever it is, I'm calling attention to what's going on. What she's saying is I'm not afraid to go knock on the door. And I say this, and look, I'm old, so I keep bringing up old stuff, but it's who I am. Emmett Till's mother was performative. She left his casket open.
Yes.
I could cry right now. I just got a chill that went down my back. Ain't no way in the world I want nobody to see my baby like that.
Yep.
But I do that for the greater good, to show people this is what happened to my son. Somebody has to have courage enough to know every Black person sitting at those Woolworth counters willing to get spit on and hit were performative. We were performing a nonviolent act so that we can shame people and let them see what in the world is going on and how wrong this is. And so, and as you can see, I'm a dramatic individual, so I don't knock a little performative. So for all the people who's saying Auntie Maxine just going up there being performing, shine on.
Yep.
Okay, my sister, somebody got to be willing to step in the light and catch the heat and get the door slammed on them. Yes. Just like our ancestors were willing to be the ones getting spit on and spat on, I should say, and clubbed and beaten. 100%. That is what we have to do to show what's going on.
Lauren, that was really powerful and beautifully said. And you're absolutely right. So much of Black history has been performative for a revolutionary value, right? There's nothing
performative on purpose.
Performative on purpose, exactly.
The world would not be the same if Sister Mamie had not made the decision that she made, that so many parents would have had a hard time making, but thank God she made it, and thank God Jet shot it, and thank God they published it, and that became a story that changed the civil rights movement. Yeah. Let's move on to our main topic, sane-washing. Everybody wants to talk about mental health until it's time to talk about their own stuff. Even Trump is throwing therapy words around like he's a victim. He is not. And Black people are out here trying to heal from the systems that he helped break. It's not healing. It's like sane washing. Like talking about how mental health is being hijacked to dodge the truth, to dodge accountability, to silence people. Let's go there today. Let's have that conversation, because nowadays it seems like everything is a trigger and people need more accountability. We have a whole trend called sane-washing, where people weaponize mental health language to avoid responsibility. And they use it, it's like therapy talk turned toxic. We got a video about this. Let's take a look at that video.
How does it happen that a man who speaks the way he speaks, deranged sometimes, delusional sometimes, some of the things he posts on Truth Social, his website, you cannot repeat on American television. You wouldn't repeat the words in front of your children. That's who he is. How did we get here? How did the Republican Party get here? And I have to tell you, and I hesitate to say this, and I don't know whether Jonathan or Willie or Donnie would agree with me, but there's a false equivalency going on in the coverage of this race, in that Donald Trump can say whatever crazy things he wants to say about submarines and sharks and electric batteries, whatever he wants to say. And it's not really covered in the sense that it's covered describing who said it, why he said it, and who the man is, Trump, out of his mind. And always in that story, in the equivalency, the false equivalency by too many reporters and too many American newspapers, there's also, by the way, Kamala Harris changed her mind on fracking. They always throw in something like that in coverage of the story. It's ridiculous. We don't cover the man for how dangerous he is.
Dimitri, my friend Mike Barnacle is absolutely right. We are doing a lot of sane washing, is that Trump or others say something crazy and then we explain it in a way that's not crazy because we put it through almost like a filter and say, no, I understand. No, but that's not what he said. Areva Martin on the show was talking about sane washing is making irrational people and their irrational ideas look normal. That is not good for society, Dimitri.
Well, I want to start here. First off, if this is who we have to sane wash, why the fuck is he president? That's just me. No more F-bombs for me, I promise. But I'm not going to make this about Trump. I'm going to make this about the cover-up. I'm going to make this about what mental health is now turned into. I believe in therapy, really do. I've done it, still in it. And from where I'm from, that's a really big step, right? Because we taught to man up, don't cry, pray about it. Anything other than therapy. Therapy was viewed as this negative thing when I was coming up. But now, I think therapy is being used as a new language for manipulation. I think it's not some form of emotional intelligence that they're seeking and learning in therapy. It's some emotional escape artistry that people are now doing. Like everything is it's not about how you feel. You're just projecting that onto me. Oh, I'm triggered, or my boundaries are XYZ. And people, it's fucking people up to the point to where people who are actually doing therapy, who are actually doing the work, who should be proud of themselves, every time they're triggered or bothered, or they understand the situation to a depth that therapy would explain it, then it becomes, here we go with this shit again. To the public eye, people are viewing it as an excuse. And when in all actuality, it's a real fucking thing. And to see it used to this magnitude, this is our president we're talking about. The fact that you feel like you have to explain what he's trying to say, he shouldn't be talking. This should not be the man speaking for our country. That's just me. But I absolutely hate what therapy's turned into. Well, the use of it, it's utterly disturbing.
Doc, let's talk about sane washing from your perspective in the mental health field. It seems like many people are weaponizing things like boundaries and other popularized aspects of mental health to escape accountability and to push others, to silence other people. What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally. Well, so there's two different sane washings on the corporate level and on the interpersonal level, right? So at the corporate level, which I would tie more to Trump, or elected officials are on the business level, they use it so that they can obviously manipulate people to have them in the space and in the environment that they need them in so that they can get the performance and the transactional responsibility or expectation of them. Right. And then it happens at the lower level of the interpersonal relationships where people are using mental health words and terminologies and diagnoses more as a way to say, look at me, I'm the victim. And as me being the victim, I want to be able to pull you in to do you these things that I need so you can help me because I'm the victim. I have this mental health diagnosis. I have these characteristics. I'm triggered. You are, crossing my boundaries per se. And they're starting to make things that are not toxic, that are really normal, and the normalcies and the intricacies of what's needed to process through relationships to get to the healthier side. They're making that so dysfunctional, so toxic that people are getting stuck within themselves and not able to move through the natural normalcy processes from the dysfunction to the healthiness of a relationship. So for me, that just becomes an issue again, when people are using mental health to work for their better good, by making themselves the victim, which in return gaslights the other person to say, hey, you're at fault. This is not what it looks like. And you are being toxic towards me, when in reality, you have two imperfect people that just need to work through some things. And at the corporate level, it's really dangerous because they're doing it again through media. They're doing it through politicking. They're doing it through leadership. They're doing it at the executive level, where you have staff members, you have a cabinet, and you have folks like us who are citizens of a presidential administration that totally sane-washes us with putting out these rhetorics so that we believe, and we are brainwashed, sane-washed to believe that we have a problem with his ideology if we are not in alignment with it or don't agree with it. It's intense manipulation, and people do it everywhere.
Lauren, I think there's some political gaslighting going on within this. Mike Barnacle referenced that as far as media is part of this, because Trump says crazy things and then media interprets it in a rational and reasonable way. And then we are meant to deal with a reasonable and rational idea when that is not at all what he said. And when we go back to but pay attention to what he literally said. And they say things like, don't take him literally, just take him seriously. I'm like, what are you even talking about? What do you think?
Talking in circles. It's like we all living in a Cracker Jack box. It don't make no sense. And that's why sometimes I really do now have to turn off the news, because it becomes an insult to my intelligence and an assault, on my intellect. Because you're not going to convince me that what he just said made sense, or what you just said makes sense. And how you going to spend an entire hour, bring on legal pundits who have, like I said, gone to law school, political analysts who've been doing this for 30 years and talk in circles for an entire hour about something didn't make sense, or more important, we know they lying. And I think we have to this is why this show exists. Truth Talks, to speak truth to power, for us to be able to start saying, listen, we're not doing all that. Call us when you're really ready to talk about it. And we need to show it through our viewership, where we're watching, right? That's why people need to tune in here so we can call it like we see it, instead of sitting there wasting and being on a news cycle for 3 and 5 hours, and you leave out there being hypnotized by phrases, fake. Remember, it all started with fake news. That was like the quintessential gaslighting. Anything that he didn't agree with, anything they didn't like, anything that was contrary to their agenda was fake news. Right. Fake news.
Right. Alternative facts.
Exactly. As if okay, even if it's an opposing opinion, is that fake? Or is it an opposing opinion? It's a real opposing opinion. It's not fake news. So we've been dealing with this for a long time. And I think we have to be able to kind of look, it starts personally, as Doc said. It's not just in the political landscape, it's even in our own homes. I'll end at this. I mean, you see the kids now today. How many times have I heard a parent, say, oh, well, so-and-so, they need to take a mental health day, so they stayed home from school. Or what? Ain't nothing wrong with them. Ain't nothing wrong with them.
No, all right, Lauren, I was with you till then. You lost me at the end. But Doc.
No. Let me finish my point. Because kids have learned to even weaponize that phrase against their parents. And it's to Dimitri's point. Some kids might need the mental health day because they need it and there's something they dealing with. But what we've learned now is tell your mama, tell your dad and them, just tell them you need a mental health day. And then you can just stay home. And I'll stand by that. 10 toes. If I had 20, I'd stand by it.
I got your other 10. I got your other 10.
Some people, for sure, they're teenagers. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile.
That's it.
Some people are taking a mental. I've had it in my own home when I'm like, I was conned in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I'm like, you weren't really. But I do think it is important to respect the children. And when they say something is wrong with them mentally or physically, that we have to listen to them. And even if they con us or they were not telling the full truth, the notion that the adults around them believe them when they say something is wrong with their body, mentally or physically, is a very important lesson for them. But Doc, I want to get to you. I want to get to you on the notion of
he's into gentle parenting. He gives an unlimited leash. So we'll have a whole episode on that. He's gentle in that area.
Yeah, we'll do another episode on that.
Full episode. Because I'm not for
we have a lot
was on the gaslighting. So I was only speaking about it as it becoming a weapon that they're using to gaslight, not the fact that certain children really do need a mental health.
And we know kids do it all the time. Kids learn to manipulate by parents who are gentle, who allow them to manipulate them and fall into their tactics, and it only hurts the child.
The gentle, children will manipulate any kind of parents.
Oh.
They're not. It's not just parents who are understanding and loving toward them. Mm-hmm. Also, parents who are harsh toward them. It's not that one side is going to get tricked.
Let's get back on topic because harsh and discipline are two different things. And we know you're triggered by harsh and abuse. We can have a whole episode on that because I want to talk about that. But let's get on topic because gentle parenting is effective in certain areas, but discipline and obedience is needed at all levels in your life, as a kiddo, as an adolescent, and as an adult.
But Dimitri, part of what we're dealing with is Black people saying, and sort of embracing this notion of sane-washing and sort of like, are we healing? Are we sort of hiding? Like, are we really trying to deal with like trauma? Or are we like just hiding from that?
Yeah, it's a toss-up. They're like she says, Cracker Jack boxing is getting a little confusing. It's getting hard to tell the difference these days because everybody's using it. But can we talk about I like to call it the Candace Owen effect? I don't know if you guys know what I'm referring to, but it's the idea that Candace Owens, I don't know if y'all actually hear her speak, but a lot of times she's using phrases like victim mentality, personal accountability, stop being triggered when she's speaking to people. And it all sounds deep on the surface, but like she's really dismissive to like systematic oppression and shit that we've actually been through. In all actuality, Candace Owens looks like what white America would want us to look like. You know what I'm saying? She's using it to her advantage. And to me, I think people don't actually speak on that side of it enough because that is absolutely a real thing.
Wait, Dimitri, do one more line for me. I wanted to catch that point. You say because she's appearing in this very, like how you believe white culture receives us more. Pretty face, the straight hair.
No. She's just
what are you saying?
Artist. She's just a political performance artist who says things that white people want to say, so that she says racist things.
Right? And she's doing it from packaging that they like to receive it from. I was just trying to make sure I understood his point.
Hold on. Dimitri, the thing we're trying to drill down on is therapy talk being used as gaslighting and Black people dealing with therapy and the ideas around therapy that have come into society, but using it to weaponize, to push people away, to not take accountability. Right. Are you seeing that?
Yes, absolutely. I'm seeing a ton of it. And it's even in the phrases you use in these conversations. When you throw therapy in somebody's face and you say, I think you need to stop there's some people I know, and I'm not gonna, get too personal, but you hear people all the time on the internet saying, you need to look inward. You are actually the problem. You're these things without knowing any knowledge of what's going on in these people's lives. The moment you say somebody's victim blaming, or the moment you say maybe the problem's inward and you should reflect in, you're using all this therapy analogies to push aside what they've actually been through. Yeah. And all I'm saying is, if you really pay attention to how Candace always delivers her messages, it's in that format. So it makes her seem like she's completely against everything we've been through. So, I mean,
Doc, where are Black people going astray on this? It's because I think as a nation, Black people, everybody's like moving slowly toward acceptance of these ideas around mental health, taking it seriously in our lives. We've seen it go from something that people did not take seriously to something people take very seriously. But a lot of Black people, Charlemagne and God, are like, yes, I can't wait to go to therapy. Everybody should go to therapy. So this notion of sane-washing, how does this resonate for you?
I mean, I think I agree. I think therapy should be a lifestyle for all of us. I don't think it's a black or white thing. I think it is a great preventative measure, and folks use it too often as an intervention, which I always say is oftentimes too late. But I see clients in session with me all the time, Torre, using therapeutic terms, clinical terms, to plead their case with me as the provider on the other side, saying, you know, this triggers me. This is how I felt. The reason why I responded like that and was abusive, whether it's emotional or stonewalling or physical, was because I was a victim in this area. Victim or not does not negate the fact that abuse is abuse, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Victim or not, or however you felt, does not negate the fact that you're responsible for the way you responded or you reacted. I have a saying where I always say feelings cause problems, emotions don't, because it is healthy to feel, which means you identify your emotions. I feel sad. I feel mad. I feel frustrated. Perfect. We want to know you're human. Let's identify those emotions and let's figure out what you want to do with them. But once you let your emotions, how you feel, get into your feelings, we have problems because then you're reactory. Then you're functioning at a low level where you're not able to regulate your emotions, and that causes a problem. And what people do is they get into a low functioning state where they can't regulate their emotions because they don't know how to identify their emotions, and they're in their feelings. And guess what happens? They want to say, well, the reason why I'm this way, Torre, is because you're talking about gentle parenting. No, doc, you are inflamed because you may be triggered with the gentle parenting word. Or no, Torre, you're triggered maybe because you've experienced abuse in the past. Let's talk about that. Let's not talk about how you and I are victimizing each other by our difference in opinions. You and I are not victimizing each other, Torre. We're having a difference in opinion about a topic that one or both of us could be feeling triggered or feeling passionate about. So what I'm saying is people need to learn to stay on their square, take responsibility for what they put on it, and not say that you are causing me to feel a certain way, because emotions are something that are normal. What I choose to do with them is my free will and my choice. And I'm not a victim by you because I am responding in a way based on what you've said or what you've done to me. I have free will, and therapy teaches you to use your choice and use your process before you produce a response.
Lauren, I think that Trump is being sane washed by media quite often. And a lot of what he does that is abnormal, media's like, you know, they find there seems to be a way of normalizing it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, partly this is coming from the way that they have silenced and chilled media, but also so much bullshit is coming at us that it's very difficult for media to even understand, and properly contextualize what's going on, because it's such an abnormal situation. What do you think about the role that media is playing in sort of normalizing Trump and sane washing Trump and the impact that's having on Black people?
It's incredibly impactful. And like I said, it goes back to the whole fake news thing, right? When they came up that slogan years ago, they were basically creating a series of lies. And then anytime someone called them out on their lies or cited something that was contrary or either disproved what they were saying, it was fake news. Anything coming from the other party was fake news. And it became this kind of, I call it, I guess I use the word okie doke because I'm old school, but it's gaslighting. That's really what it is, where you know what you heard was a lie. But when you say that's a lie, they say you're fake news. And the next thing you know, you sitting up there going, now I'm the one that's getting called fake, right? And you the one that's lying. And I don't think media really, in the interest of trying to make money, get ratings, right? I think we press you remember how the old school songs had the extended play? You know, the song.
I do. I remember that.
Radio version. Okay.
I know.
Okay. Y'all only do the short songs. But it used to be when it was the jam, honey, good old Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, we had a little short radio version. And then you could do extended play where that thing might have played for 12, 13 minutes. I think what media's done has pressed the extended play, right? Because our media cycle is 24 hours a day, we're now talking in circles all day. And it's the perfect breeding ground for gaslighting, because media has become a circus of talking in circles to keep people engaged and showing the drama and the lies to draw people in. We're almost now a victim of the landscape we've created is now killing us, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be shock value. Everything has to grab your attention. And so how many times throughout the day do we see them reinforce a bold-faced lie? Now, last point. The average person listening, are they deductively reasoning?
No.
Are they critically thinking? No, they're just hearing the same video, the same thoughts play over and over again, and people are internalizing those as truth. I'll leave it to Dr. B to tell us how that happens. I just know it is.
Yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. And there's Black politicians who are participating in this. Nate McCall, Byron Daniels. There's Byron. The sane washing is leaving people misunderstanding the reality that we are in. As Mike Barnacle was talking about at the top, that they are unable to understand how dire the situation is for Black people in particular, for our democracy. There's one of the enemies of our democracy now to tell us that insane things, cruel things, bizarre things, unconstitutional things are, well, Trump has the power to do that. That's just what happened. And we need a much more critical conversation about the news we're getting, rather than telling people what happened. Tell them this is wrong. Tell them this should not be happening. Tell them this is extremely dangerous for the entire future of our democracy.
Victoria, that's called programming, though. What you just described is programming. That is what cults do. They program. Candace Owens has taken a long time for people, especially Black people, to finally take a liking to her, because through her programming process,
where are Black people taking a liking to Candace Owens? Where did that happen?
Hold on. Candace Owens was just on, I don't want to name the wrong, not Morgan Pierce, it was another big show. Jody knows what I'm talking about. And she had millions of live views, and people were literally in the chat, Black people, just rooting for her. So I'm back. What I'm saying is it's programming. And what media is meant to do is program their viewers so that their viewers now have a message that's on autopilot. And that autopilot runs even when that media is no longer running, so that that person innately becomes drawn to the same type of rhetoric or narrative or programming that media is manipulating them with. This is why you'll find that your algorithm on your phone or on your television tends to pick up on the same things that you've been watching, or you tend to gravitate towards people, circumstance, things, and TV shows or YouTube, whatever you watch, that you have already been watching. Or if you buy a car, you tend to see that same car on the road over and over again. When you leave a relationship, people tend to date the same vessel or similar experience. It's called programming. And what we have to do here at True Talks, and as Black folks who are in media, we have to reprogram our people and the people connected to us in proximity to us to understand our narrative, to be able to be on autopilot about the things that represent who we are and the things that work for our community. Because folks like Candace Owens may not be liked by many of us on here, but if you go to her page, there's a shitload of people globally who she's converted to agreeing and liking this Candace Owens and her message of programming. And you go to her page.
I must be confused about which Candace Owens she's talking about. Dimitri?
I just want to make this clear because I don't want to leave anybody confused or room to understand what we're hitting on. The idea of this is that the media is saying, oh, Trump's just misunderstood. He's dealing with the pressures like everybody else. They're trying to dumb him down to a humanistic standpoint to where you can understand it. And they're doing it through therapy and things like empathy and all these things. And you got people, us, falling for the okie doke, saying things like, well, Trump gave us a check when other people didn't, or like, I don't like Trump, but at least he's honest, or, he's keeping it real and Biden was faking all these things. But then you have Nate and Byron actually attesting for this, saying things like, Trump did more for Black people than any other Democrat or XYZ or blah, blah, blah. But Trump knows exactly what he's doing. And he knows what hand it is to play to get you guys on his side. And I think, in my opinion, it's a dangerous thing when you see Black men actually advocating for this. Why?
That's programming.
Because people believe, oh, it can't be racist if it's a Black man saying these things. Oh, this is a Black intellect, so we should agree with this. And then you got people who are pulling that side of, and they're falling for exactly what it is. So all I want to say is be very conscious of who's pushing these messages and what messages they're pushing, and understand that this is a president we're talking about here.
Yeah, indeed.
Well said,
Dimitri. That's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with Truth Talks tonight. Like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Truth Talks-Live. Watch us simulcasting right here on the Black Star Network after Roland Martin Unfiltered. We love his lead and appreciate his support. Support Black media at Cash App, Truth Talks Live, or any of the links on your screen will help us support the show. You can also support us by advertising with Truth Talks, like our friends at the Playpad in Atlanta, Georgia, who reach our over 10 million person audience by working on our social platforms. Small businesses and influencers can partner with us by visiting truthtalkslive.com. Hair Maniacs loves the show, loves Dr. B, loves supporting her in her beauty journey. Tell them about your hair, Doc.
Well, listen, y'all, I done told them about my hair every show. Every time you see my hair, know that this is my hair. And this is Hair Maniacs. That's what it is. But it's not just hair. I also use their edge control. They have a really amazing growth oil that I not only put on my hair, I put on my eyebrows as well. It thickens my eyebrows. And it literally has thickened my hair. I already have thick, natural, curly hair. They also have a curl mousse. I mean, these folks have eyelashes, anything glam you could think of. They have for those who wear lace front wigs, or you want to wig it down. Sometimes when I'm on set, I allow my glam squad to put wigs on me. They have this really good wig spray glue. They have a wig glue that you set on 30 minutes. That glue stuff is off. Take that lace wig off, honey, and go to bed and put that scarf on. But Hair Maniacs has everything you could think of, from hair, lashes to glam. They take great care of your doc, as you can see. Next week, you'll probably see this hair down with some beautiful curls, but it will still be Hair Maniacs. You know what it is.
Beautiful. You look fantastic with that. Become a VIP member of the Truth Lounge and click on any room for any host. We want to make sure we thank our supporters, Juanita Mahdi, Kyla Carr, and Benjamin Gomes, for their weekly cash support for Truth. If you want to be included in our credits, hit that Cash App and show us some love. Keep supporting Black independent media by telling a friend to tell a friend to watch Truth Talks. This is your family. This is your friends. We're Truth Talks. We're going to come together and argue every night, 8 p.m. EST, 8 p.m. PST on the West Coast. Hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our great moments. And we will be back every night at 8 p.m. We'll see